What's up everyone? Alex here. I managed to take a break from all the games I'm playing to deliver to you my thoughts on the recently released Lost Epic. And if my mention of Vanillaware in the thumbnail got you to click on this video, you're probably seeing why this game reminds me of the revered developer. And believe me, it plays and sounds just as good as it looks. Check this out. Before I get into the nitty-gritty of Lost Epic, I want to take a brief moment to thank 108 for providing me with a game code to check this out. And I want to remind everyone that this video is made possible by you. So please leave a like, post a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this video. When I first played this game, I immediately thought anime, Metroidvania, Souls-like game, and some of these parts are actually true. For one, it is an anime-style Metroidvania hack and slash, but it has Souls mechanics. Now keep in mind that I am not calling it a Souls-like because that implies immediately that it's as difficult as those games. But what's really fascinating about this is I had a feeling that this was going to be easier than said games, and as it turns out, it really is. That being said, you can adjust the difficulty of each individual sections in these transition areas that bridge the gap between one zone or another. Now, I haven't really tried this because I've been really enjoying playing with the combat, which I'll get into more detail later. Now, one of the Souls mechanics that this game has is a stamina meter that is actually not as punishing. So even if you have low stamina, you're still going to be able to eke out a few attacks here and there, but it's not going to be as effective as if you have full stamina. So for example, if an enemy just needs maybe like 2 or 3 more hits, you can get by with absolutely no stamina if you so wish. That being said, just to get the stamina back to full only takes about like literally a second or less of you not attacking anything, and you pretty much have your stamina back, which is really convenient. It's almost a way for the developers to kind of throttle you from mashing your buttons too much, so that way you can kind of pause for a really brief moment. It allows you to assess what's going on in the situation and then react to what's going on around you, which is actually very convenient. Now, much like Souls games, you level up by going to a bonfire equivalent. In this case, it's these statues where when you level up, you gain skill points to spend on a tech tree. And this tech tree actually has different stat ups and attributes and different abilities. In fact, by doing specific quests, you actually unlock some of these abilities. So for example, the ability to parry was actually unlocked when I finished one particular quest. And there are multiple pages of tech trees as well, and these get unlocked over time. And of course, since this game is borrowing a lot of elements from Souls mechanics, you also get a roll with invincibility frames. But going back to my comparison to Vanillaware, of course, one thing that really reminds me of that company outside of its animation is how it actually scores different enemy encounters after you defeat everybody. That's a very Odin Sphere kind of thing, and immediately it popped into my brain. I'm like, oh, that's Odin Sphere. That's really crazy. And as I said, the artwork is reminiscent of Vanillaware because they kind of have this mastery of Flash-style animation. And I'm not saying that to kind of diss anybody or knock anybody. I think it's actually really brilliant the way that they implemented it in this game, with art designs done by Nami. And Nami is actually known for their work in projects such as Fate Grand Order, Azure Lane, and Arknights. So if the designs kind of look familiar, that's probably why. Now, I want to make sure that I'm not confusing anybody here. By comparing the artwork to Vanillaware, I am not saying that the quality is at all similar, merely that the art style is evocative of Vanillaware's, especially with the way that they decided to animate things. When you finally get your hands in the gameplay, you'll immediately recognize how smooth and fluid the combat really is. Now, in addition to your normal weak and heavy attacks, you also have a double jump and a parry that I said you can unlock later, an ability to switch between your first and second loadouts, and a button called the Divine Skill. What's interesting about the Divine Skill is that it does not use any sort of currency. Instead, what happens is that when you invoke divine skills, it just activates and then goes into a cooldown, so you can't exactly spam it. And as you can imagine, as you play more of the game, you'll unlock more of these. What's really cool about the drive skill is that you can also do something called a drive skill counter. And what that does is if you execute a divine skill, if yellow prompts come up, it'll interrupt their attack. I should also point out that your attacks can also clash with others, meaning if your attack hits theirs, it actually cancels the attack entirely and you can keep on the offense. This also allows you to protect yourself from projectiles like arrows, for example. Now, while the game doesn't have as many combo strings as Vanillaware titles, the type of weapon that you choose actually determines what kind of attacks come out. And I think that's a really good way to create variance in terms of its hack and slash gameplay. It also helps that the weapons feel really, really good. Like, I really enjoyed playing with them and using all the different abilities, from the parries to the different divine skills. It's absolutely feels really visceral and really impactful. And again, I want to show you pieces of gameplay again, just to kind of show you how great this looks and sounds. Now you're probably wondering like, okay Alex, that's a lot of glowing praise, but I'm pretty sure you have some caveats, right? Well, yes, of course I do. For one, I think that the environments themselves look a bit blurry. I was playing this on a 4K monitor on my PS4 Pro, and yeah, it definitely can see like it's blurry in a lot of places in the background. But there are different sections of the game that actually take advantage of that blurriness to kind of create this kind of aesthetic effect that makes it pop pretty well. The blurriness is only in certain areas. It's not throughout the entire game. And keep in mind that the characters themselves are very crisp and high detail, so it's kind of interesting that they put a lot of their work into making the characters look really good, but not the backgrounds. The other thing is the UI, because a lot of the terminologies and the way that you navigate through these UI elements feel a little bit clunky. Unfortunately, the game only allows you to do things that it feels that you're capable of doing, so it becomes easy to navigate in that fashion, but you kind of have to like take a step back a little bit and try to almost decipher what some of these really mean. Like, where do you enhance your weapons? How do you make weapons? Oh wait, making weapons also means making armor? You know, that sort of thing. A little bit confusing, but I got used to it pretty much as I played more of the game. And the last negative that I want to say is that I tried doing online where I support people and stuff, but I didn't find anybody to play with, at least on the PlayStation version. So maybe that's because like it's been flying under the radar, but quite honestly, that didn't really affect my playthrough of it because I enjoyed it just playing it by myself. It's just really, really cool. But despite all the negativity that I mentioned, I think the $24.99 US price point for the game is great considering how good the combat is and how it coalesces really well with these borrowed Souls mechanics without ever going too far into Souls territory. Now, a lot of people looking for a Souls-like experience will probably be deterred by this idea, and maybe the addition of the difficulty settings in between zones can make Lost Epic feel a bit closer to those kinds of games. But I highly recommend Lost Epic for anybody who has a hankering for a Metroidvania/action RPG mixed with Souls mechanics, who are really curious about the inclusion of that latter part. I think there's a lot to kind of mine here in terms of experience to get you the confidence to try Souls games without having to worry about dying too much. It really helps that the game is super responsive, super fluid, and feels and sounds really, really good, especially for the price point. Lost Epic is out now on PS4, PS5, and PC via Steam. It took me about 10 hours to beat this game, so it's not that long, but I am hoping that the combat and systems will hold you for a long time with this one. At any rate, I want to hear what you think of Lost Epic. Post your thoughts in the comments below and let's talk about it. And if you like RPGs, Japanese, indies, niche titles, and more, please consider clicking like and subscribing to the channel. And if you're a longtime subscriber, join the $5 tier on my Patreon, where you can gain early access to my videos at patreon.com/backlogbattle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.